True Crime Chronicles, the dark secret behind the best man's betrayal. A wedding day, a time of joy, love, and lifelong commitments. But what happens when a dark secret turns that day of happiness into one of horror? When a betrayal so deep is revealed, it brings nothing but heartbreak, deception, and bloodshed. Today we unravel the tragic and shocking case of Matthew Walker, a groom whose life ended on the very day it was supposed to begin. How far would someone go to protect a secret? Could jealousy, lies, and hidden truths lead to murder? As we dive into this story, think carefully. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones we should fear the most. Oh, the perfect couple. Matthew Walker had everything he could want: a successful career in finance, a loving family, and a beautiful fiancée. But it wasn't just his professional life that seemed perfect. Matthew had been in love with Sarah Brooks for years, and they were finally tying the knot at a luxurious countryside venue. Matthew's friends described him as the kind of man everyone wanted to be: kind, humble, hardworking. Sarah, 27, a kind-hearted elementary school teacher, had been Matthew's rock through thick and thin. They had met during their sophomore year of college when Sarah accidentally spilled coffee on Matthew's laptop in the university library. What could have been a disaster turned into a meet-cute that friends would recount for years to come. Their relationship wasn't just about romance, it was a true partnership. When Matthew struggled with anxiety during his final exams, Sarah was there, creating study schedules and providing unwavering support. And when Sarah's mother was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, Matthew took time off work to drive her to chemotherapy appointments and cook meals for the family. They appeared to be the perfect couple, but there was one person in Matthew's life who didn't share that joy: his best man, Greg. What do you do when your best friend is hiding something? And what happens when that secret threatens to ruin everything you've ever dreamed of? Keep this in mind, because what unfolds next will make you question the meaning of loyalty. The dark revelation. Behind the smiles and laughter, Matthew had recently uncovered something that left him questioning everything about the people closest to him, especially Greg. Greg Thompson and Matthew had been best friends since childhood. They now worked at the same finance firm, though Greg hadn't climbed the corporate ladder as quickly as Matthew. But there was one thing Matthew hadn't realized. Greg harbored a deep resentment, a jealousy that festered over the years. It wasn't just about professional success. It was about Sarah. As Matthew prepared for his big day, he stumbled upon a series of messages between Sarah and Greg. It started innocently enough: a text here, a Facebook message there. At first, it seemed like harmless banter, but as Matthew dug deeper, the tone quickly shifted. The messages revealed a sinister truth. Greg had been manipulating Sarah for years, playing on her insecurities and planting seeds of doubt about her relationship with Matthew. He would comfort her after arguments, always positioning himself as the understanding friend. But it went beyond emotional manipulation. Greg had been actively sabotaging their relationship from the start. He'd accidentally schedule guys' nights on important anniversaries, conveniently forget to pass on messages, and even go as far as to create situations that would make Sarah doubt Matthew's fidelity. And now, it was all about to unravel. Imagine discovering that your closest friend had been working behind your back to destroy your relationship. The betrayal, the hurt, the anger, it would be overwhelming. What would you do? Would you confront them in front of everyone or wait for the perfect moment to strike back? The wedding day. The morning of the wedding arrived, and the Rosewood estate was a flurry of activity. Matthew, usually calm and collected, was a bundle of nerves. But it wasn't just pre-wedding jitters. He had made a decision. He would confront Greg during the wedding speech. It was a risky move, but Matthew felt he had no choice. He couldn't let his marriage begin on a foundation of lies. As the ceremony began, Sarah walked down the aisle, a vision in white. They exchanged vows, their voices filled with emotion, while Greg stood nearby, a fake smile plastered on his face. The reception that followed was a blur of congratulations, clinking glasses and forced smiles. And then came the moment of truth, the best man's speech. The wedding speech and the murder. Greg stood up, champagne glass in hand, ready to deliver what should have been a heartwarming toast to the happy couple. But before he could begin, Matthew interrupted. Matthew, Greg, I have something I need to thank you for. The crowd falls silent as Greg nervously steps forward. Matthew's voice cracks as he begins to reveal Greg's betrayal, his attempts to manipulate Sarah and destroy their relationship. It was supposed to be a joyful moment, but instead, it became one of betrayal. The truth was out. The room fell silent. Sarah's face drained of color as Greg stood frozen in place. Everyone thought Greg would try to apologize to explain himself, but instead he snapped. Rage overtook him. Years of jealousy and resentment boiled over in an instant. In a blur of motion, Greg grabs a knife from the wedding cake table and lunges at Matthew. Guests scream in horror as the blade plunges into Matthew's chest. Blood stains the pristine white tablecloth as Matthew was married. Matthew Walker, the groom, the successful financier, the beloved friend, takes his last breath in the arms of his new wife. The aftermath and investigation. Detectives arrive on the scene as paramedics cover Matthew's body with a white sheet, his blood pooling beneath him. Detective Maria Morales steps into the venue, immediately noticing Greg's panicked face as he's pulled away in handcuffs. She's seen many crime scenes in her 15-year career, but this one, a murder at a wedding, is particularly haunting. Greg was taken into custody almost immediately. But why had things escalated so quickly? What had pushed Greg over the edge? As Detective Morales dug deeper into the case, a disturbing picture began to emerge. Greg's obsession with Matthew's life wasn't just jealousy, it was a deep psychological fixation. He had been controlling and manipulating Matthew for years, planting seeds of doubt, isolating him from other friends, and even staging events to push Sarah closer to him. But when the truth started to unravel, Greg lost control. The carefully constructed web of lies he had built over the years came crashing down in an instant. During the interrogation, Greg breaks down, finally confessing to the murder, claiming he didn't mean for things to go that far. But was it truly an accident, or had this been his plan all along? The psychology of obsession. To understand this tragic event, we spoke with Dr. Evelyn Chen, a forensic psychologist specializing in obsessive behaviors. Dr. Chen.
What we see in Greg's case is a classic example of pathological envy. It's not just about wanting what someone else has, it's about wanting to be them, to the point where the line between self and other becomes blurred.
Dr. Chen explains that Greg's years of manipulation were a way of inserting himself into Matthew's life, of trying to become Matthew. The wedding, the ultimate symbol of Matthew's success in an area where Greg had failed, became the breaking point. But what about Sarah? How did she not see through Greg's manipulation? Dr. Chen suggests that Greg likely exploited Sarah's own insecurities and desire for validation, positioning himself as a confidant and friend, while subtly undermining her relationship with Matthew. The legal proceedings. Greg Thompson was charged with first-degree murder. The trial, which lasted 3 weeks, captivated the nation. Prosecutors painted a picture of a man consumed by jealousy and resentment, while the defense argued for a crime of passion, claiming Greg never intended to kill Matthew. In the end, the jury found Greg guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the verdict was read, Sarah, still wearing her wedding ring, wept silently in the courtroom. The aftermath. The perfect friendship shattered in a moment of rage. Sarah, now a widow instead of a newlywed, has become an advocate for mental health awareness and the importance of recognizing toxic relationships. In a recent interview, she said, "I never saw the signs. I want others to learn from our tragedy." Matthew's parents have established a scholarship in his name at their local university, ensuring that their son's memory lives on through education, the field that brought Matthew and Sarah together. As for Greg, he sits in a prison cell haunted by the consequences of his actions. In a letter to Matthew's parents, he wrote, "I destroyed everything I ever wanted. I became the villain in my own story."
What do you think? Could someone be driven to murder by jealousy, or was there more to Greg's plan? How can we protect ourselves from the hidden darkness in those closest to us? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking stories just like this one. Stay tuned for our next episode of True Crime Chronicles, where we'll explore another case that proves truth is often stranger and more terrifying than fiction.